There's almost never a time that things are as uncomplicated as they are during your OPT. Now, oddly, we as lawyers are to a large extent not involved very much in the OPT process. There's no real need. Most of it is relatively straightforward. It becomes a little less straightforward with the rules that now govern STEM extensions. But all I would say is that your best friend during your final 6 months before graduation is your designated student officer or foreign student advisor. Different people call themselves different things at the school, and have that person at the school who's going to liaise with you and help you with your OPT application. And in case anybody hasn't looked at that carefully, of course, that stands for optional practical training. And the principle is simple, that once you graduate from a bona fide program, whether it's a bachelor's or a master's or whatever it is, you are typically entitled at least to 1 year of practical training. And that is such a key time, because it not only allows you to remain in the US for at least a year, and if you're in one of the STEM occupations, potentially for a significant extension after that, getting up for almost 3 years. It's about the last time that things are easy in immigration. And why that's so important is once you get that OPT document, it's only then that you can start working. So another issue is not just eligibility, but how long it takes. And so get real with that officer who's going to help you submit the I-765 application to get you your OPT card. It's not enough just to file it. You have to actually get the card before you can start. And the USCIS, which is the agency that we deal with on all this stuff, is almost completely disinterested in arguments about, well, you should expedite the processing of my OPT card because this job is critical, and if I miss this, it's going to impact my entire career. Their short answer is, tell someone who cares. Everybody needs to be in line, and we'll process these in date order. As we talk more about this, you're going to find that echoes not just in the adjudication of your OPT applications, but in potential subsequent H-1Bs and O-1s and the things we'll talk about for the rest of our time together. And so I don't want to hammer on about this point, but get organized about getting your OPT application in good shape. And if you're lucky enough to be in a STEM profession such that you can potentially then start looking for extensions beyond your normal 1 year, do that in plenty of time as well. And so really the meat of what I wanted to talk about, having said all of that, was to get into, okay, well, what next? Because now you're hopefully in. You finally get this card, you're able to start working, you generate relationships, the company that you're with starts perceiving your value, and they start saying, okay, we don't want to lose this woman, she's amazing, or this guy looks like a great fit, what do we do? So it is more likely than not that if your employer does everything perfectly, you do everything perfectly, the lawyer involved, if there is one, does everything perfectly, you file your H-1B in a timely fashion under whatever the dispensation is, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, the odds are more than 50% that instead of simply approving that perfect petition, the USCIS will come back with a standard template demand for more information. And the typical one at the moment isn't about you. It's not about the person who's going to get the visa. Their typical resistance at the moment is they say this position is not one that necessarily requires a specific degree. And there's a standard sort of multi-page where they say it looks to us like this position is not so complex that it couldn't be done by somebody without a degree. Or they'll say, we see your company's advertising, and in the advertising for this, say, data scientist position, your company has said that the requirement is a master's degree either in business administration or computer science. And if you can get there via either path, either qualification, it doesn't satisfy the definition for an H-1B, which necessarily requires that the position need a particular degree. But again, even when everything is done perfectly, one runs into problems a lot on those H-1Bs right now. So what changed in the 90s was that the annual quota of those visas became inadequate.